So nationally, the construction of apartment buildings has really picked up. How does that compare broadly with what you're seeing all along the West Coast?
Yeah, so in the 6 largest cities on the West Coast, apartment construction is way down. We're looking at about 20,000 apartments this year, fewer in the first half of the year than in the first halves of the last, say, 10 years. So if you just average out what the production typically looks like in the biggest cities on the West Coast over the last decade, we're running 20,000 units behind that pace, or about half. So we really are seeing that it's the West Coast cities where things are very expensive, land is very expensive, that are not keeping pace with the rest of the country in terms of new apartment building.
Why?
Well, people have a bunch of different ideas. I think the biggest one is just the cost of construction. The interest rate environment has made it very difficult for developers to get construction loans. Also, labor costs are up, material costs are up. So basically all of the things that go into how expensive it is to build are increasing. And as a result, people are deciding to build a little bit less, at least here on the West Coast.
What does this mean in terms of affordability and affordable housing?
Yeah, if you look at it from the perspective of what housing units are coming on the market today, those are units that broke ground 2 or 3 years ago. And so the units that aren't starting today, the construction that isn't happening, is going to be housing units that aren't available for people to move into in a few years from now. I talked to somebody at the Turner Center in Berkeley who said, if you think the housing crisis is bad now, just wait a few more years. This is sort of the beginning of a crisis that looks like it's going to get worse, not better, in these cities.
That's Axios' Andrew Keats in San Diego. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Our Axios business colleagues are reporting this morning about how mortgage interest rates are inching closer to the 8% mark. The average 30-year fixed mortgage rate hit 7.49% this week. That's the highest it's been in 2 decades, which has us wondering, whether you rent or own, do you think homeownership matters? If you can record a voice memo sharing your thoughts about whether or not homeownership even matters anymore, you can text or email me. The info's all in our show notes, and we'll be airing these responses soon for some more housing stories we're working on. College sports are in for a dramatic realignment, one that will kill off some of the country's biggest rivalries, which is why some are saying this is the last season for college football as we know it. The Big Ten is now made up of 14 schools, but next year USC and UCLA will make their move there. They're part of a mass exodus from the Pac-12. Texas and Oklahoma are moving to the SEC, among other changes. Perhaps in anticipation of all of this, college football fans are snatching up tickets in a big way. Sales are through the roof, reports Axios entertainment reporter Annalise Bailey. Hi, Annalise.
Hi.
When we say through the roof, what kind of sales are you seeing?
We are seeing huge sales across the entire landscape of college football. So StubHub has reported that all of their college football ticket sales are up nationally over 50%.
Are there specific teams that are seeing the most pickup?
Yes, so what I find really interesting is the Colorado Buffaloes are seeing an increase of 1,668%, and that's mainly due to the hiring of Coach Deion Sanders during the offseason. They hired him, and so fans are just super excited for the season.
How much of all of this is reflective of a boom we've seen in live events all year? And I'm thinking particularly of the Taylor Swift or Beyonce concerts this summer.
Yeah, I think it's all very much connected. People are looking for entertainment again. We are back outside, we're looking for concerts, we're looking for sporting events, and college football is really no different.
And out of these, who makes the most money off of this, Annalise? Is it the StubHubs of the world?
StubHub is making a lot of money, but I think we can safely say that these schools are profiting a huge amount from how much their football teams are bringing in, which overall also affects the economy of the local communities that these teams are in.
Annalise Bailey writes about entertainment for Axios. Thanks, Annalise.
Thank you.
That's it for us today. You can always reach our team by emailing podcasts@axios.com, or you can text me at 202-918-4893. All this information's in our show notes. I'm Nyla Boodoo. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
Got a business problem? There's a TED Talk for that. Stay updated on everything business on TED Business, a podcast hosted by Columbia Business School professor Modupe Akinola. Every week, she'll introduce you to leaders with unique insights on work, answering questions like, how do 4-day work weeks work? Will a machine ever take my job? Get some surprising answers on TED Business, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome to Well Made, where we dive deep into all things wellness, self-improvement, and self-love. I'm your host, Kat Kamalani, a mother of 2 beautiful kids and a proud wife to a firefighter husband. Together, we'll explore raw and candid moments that touch on every aspect of life, from parenting to relationships, career, and personal growth. Our conversations will be filled with insight, experiences, and tips to help you live your best life. So sit back, relax, and join us on this journey towards a happier, healthier, and more fulfilling life. Welcome back to another episode of Well Made. We are going to have to change my intro here soon. I don't know why I feel so nervous, because saying it out loud and filming this is insane, because we have been talking about this for years and years and years. But the big surprise for our family, if you've been following us on social media, I have been hinting a lot. We're going to announce the big surprise here soon is, do you want to say?
I'm no longer a firefighter.
You are no longer a flippin' firefighter. I can't believe we're saying this. Okay, so I'm going to give you everything of our thought process, how this all went down. What are we going to be doing now? So let's rewind, almost 5 years. You decided to become a firefighter, and I was on maternity leave of being a flight attendant, and we truly both thought we found our careers. I remember my dad pulling me aside and saying, how does it feel to have found your career at such a young age? And I remember thinking like, oh, that's cool, because both of us never thought about being entrepreneurs. We just thought like, let's find our career, let's climb the ladder, this is what we're going to do our whole life.
Yeah, it's just how it used to be, right? For people like your dad and the older generation, they were just like, find a career and climb their way up.
Yeah. Which is totally fine. I'm not dogging it, because
sure.
I don't feel like
people still do that, and that's a good way to success still.
Yes.
Right?
And so when I was a flight attendant, I was on maternity leave. I was also a marketing director for a company, and I quit that when I had Luna. And then when I was with Luna, social media wasn't a sustainable income for me yet. And you were working 2 jobs. You were working at Wade Auto Group, which is a car dealership. You're help running that, and then you became a firefighter. So I was still with Delta, and it was the scariest thing quitting that job, because we had our flight benefits. It was a source of income, and I knew I wanted to be home, and I hated being a flight attendant. So I decided to quit that, which was really, really, really scary. And so I quit that, and you became a firefighter. You had your second job. Fast forward, we moved into this new house, and me running my business, you could quit your second job. But it was super scary, because we were tripling our mortgage payment, and we didn't have Delta anymore. And then we were deciding to take away another income when we were tripling our expenses. But you decided to quit Wade Auto Group, and that gave me a lot of time to focus on what I was passionate about and what I loved, and to share with the world our life, which then got us to this point where we are now. And we have been talking, how long have we been talking about firefighting?
It's probably since we started doing like a split time between here and Hawaii.
Yeah.
We're like how do we do this full time?
Yes.
Right?
And that started about 2 years ago. We weren't in a position where you could quit, but we knew we wanted you to quit. We spent half our time here in Hawaii and Utah, and we knew living in one place wasn't for us, and we were thinking, how do we get ourselves to a position where we're not with these golden handcuffs to somebody else, where we have to stay in Utah because you have a job here and you have to stay here. And it almost felt like when you would take firefighting off and you would go to Hawaii, the rest of the year I felt like it was these handcuffs here in Utah, because you would take all your sick time, all your vacation. You had no time whatsoever to go travel or go do anything else, because we used all your sick time and vacation.
Yeah, and I had trades on top of that, so I'm having to pay back people, working for free essentially, and not being able to do what we want to do and when we want to do it.
Yeah.
So moving forward with our lives now, it's super exciting to see that we're going to be able to do all the things we wanted to do and build something for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so when we were back in Hawaii and we first started talking about firefighting, we were thinking, okay, how do we get to this position? So we knew in that time being for the next 2 years, I was going to just hustle and start building my business to try to supplement the income. And it was around, I want to say January this year when we went to Hawaii again, that's when things started picking up for us. And we realized, what are we doing? Like, we could put our time, our talents, our efforts into something bigger of this podcast, trying to start our own businesses and growing our social media pages. And it is, let me tell you guys, it is not an easy decision. It is so scary. And we originally decided he was going to quit next year sometime, but it came to a point where we just realized this was the best move for our family. There's a book that I'm reading called Untethered, and it talks about this analogy with this house, that a lot of people stay inside this house of their own comfort, and they use synthetic lights and they have lamps on, and they don't dare open up the door and go outside their house because they think it's darkness outside. So they stay in their house where they're comfortable with the synthetic lights and the lamps because that's all they know. But if they were to just either open up the door and walk out, or if they were to ram through a wall, they would realize it's not dark outside, it's an infinite amount of light. There's sunrises, there's sunsets, there's blue skies, there's clouds, and there's just this infinite amount of light. And that analogy right there is what made me feel like we can quit Delta, that we can quit Weight Auto Group, that we can quit firefighting and start going towards our dreams and our passions.
Yeah, it's a scary jump too, though. I mean, because you're going from safety and what normal, I don't want to say normal, just lots of people do, right? They get an employer and they just go to work and they make sure they get a steady paycheck, be able to come home, pay for their bills, and live comfortably. So going out on the limb here and just really putting ourselves out there and trying to strive for something together, it's kind of scary, but I'm super excited for it.
Yeah. So do you want to tell people what you're going to be doing now that you're quit fire? By this time this episode is live, you're done with firefighting.
What are my days going to look like?
Golfing, working out. No, just kidding.
No, I think together you're just going to be able to dedicate your time to more of the business. I'm going to be able to watch kids, which I'm super stoked about because I love spending time with the kids, and I feel like there's a stigma about women should be watching the kids and the guys got to work, but that's not how we play and run our house. We don't play that game. We both are equal and we both put in good work, so watching the kids will be a big part of it. We're going to be working together, building business. I'm going to be doing all the unsexy stuff like tech stuff, all the accounting, taxes.
You already do that right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to be doing that full time, dedicating that full time. So
he does a lot of that right now for my business, and he has for years. He does the taxes, he does all the nitty gritty with lawyer stuff, and just, the back work, everything you see with the podcast. He does all the back work, the filming of it. We have an editor, but you are in main contact with him. So that is what he's doing, but you're also, this is a special time for you because like you said, you get time with the kids, which not a lot of men get this time, especially with their kids as they're younger, which is, I think, something that money can buy, which is such a valuable thing. And I think that's one of our biggest factors and driving factors of us wanting to be entrepreneurs and do this, because A, time we will never get back, but B, is doing something that we're passionate about, and C, and inspiring our kids and us of like this new way of thinking where, okay, we don't have to have a 9-to-5 job, that we can be our own boss, that we can figure things out and do it. And that is, again, such a scary thing doing that. Another thing too, I've had people ask our family as a big question is, how are you and Kayloni going to do now that you're with each other 24/7?
I feel like we're best friends, and we've been tested, every time we go to Hawaii, and we're there literally for months at a time with just us, no family, and we put that time together, and we've been tested, and honestly, we get along so well, and we're such good partners that it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be important for us to still do our own thing, our own hobbies and interests, but together we're just going to build something super cool, and I'm super stoked.
I think what's important too with working, and we've talked about this a lot, is that we have our own identities and we have our own lanes. Where I was speaking to Kayloni last night, it's so important for me to let go of control of some aspects in our life. So the kids in the household has been my number one job for the last 5 years. And now that you have been stepping into that role a little bit more, I realized it was so difficult of me letting go of that, and that realizing there's not just one way to do anything in this life. Like, there is different ways to run a household. There's different ways to run a business, have a relationship. So I've been trying to let go of that control and let you step into that and not micromanage. And also, you're lean and genius with the businesses that you know these are your roles, and I'm not your manager. I'm not the person over you, but this is just your business now, and this is your role in it. And I think that's really important. And the next thing is finding hobbies and passions that are together but separate. So one thing that we always do together is work out, which I love, but then there's things that you do separate. Like, you love golfing and you have guys nights, and I think it's important for you to take guys trips, and I'm taking a girls trip to Africa this month. And so having those differences.
So what I'm super stoked about too about this whole thing is that this whole time, this last 5 years, you've just been like,
man, it's 100 degrees and slightly humid. Or I guess humid, but not that bad. Oh. There's a slight breeze, humid breeze. Bye.